It is that time again. Time for another episode of Trump Trolls Trump, when one Trump trolls another Trump for being a complete and utter moron. I will let you decide, but I'll give you a hint. I'm not the complete and utter moron. Okay. Um, it's day 39 of the Trump regime. Seems longer. Let's see what Donald and his little sycophants and enablers have been up to this week. First up, and this should fill us all with a sense of calm and security, Donald's transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, had a major accomplishment in the month since he's taken over. What has he done? Not an easy task, unless you're phobic. He has completely undermined the American public's confidence in flying, heretofore known as the safest way to travel. But well, seriously, planes are falling out of the sky, they're crashing into each other. His focus appears to be on the essential, and by essential, I mean essentially insane 5 bullet point email sent to federal workers last week from the Office of Personnel Management at the behest of the unelected, unconfirmed, unvetted Elon Musk, demanding that federal employees explain 5 things they accomplished that week. Here is Duffy's reasoning, such as it is, using the word loosely and incorrectly, on why this was such a good thing. Watch.
I have no problem with the employees here saying, what did you do last week? And if you can't come up with 5 things that you did, maybe you shouldn't be employed here. So again, this is an easy task. It happens in the private sector all the time. And so I wanted our employees to actually engage and talk about what they did. And I think this whole movement, Bill, is potentially going to make people go, I'm going to come to work earlier. I'm going to stay later. I'm going to look at what Donald Trump wants me to accomplish because he won the election. And I'm going to fight and work to make sure I help him accomplish that because I'm a public servant. I don't work for a party or a union or a think tank. I actually work for the president.
Well, no. I mean, we don't work for a party or union. You're supposed to work for the country. They work for the country, unlike you. I don't. Let's. What are 5 things that Sean Duffy did this week? I think his brain gave up the will to live because he's so extraordinarily stupid. Apparently, kissed Donald's ass. I mean, that could be 1 through 5,000. He insulted and infantilized a bunch of dedicated civil servants who work much harder than he ever could. And he just admitted that the whole point of this thing was to threaten people into working in ways that they would not normally because they're terrified of losing their jobs for absolutely no reason. And there's a 5th thing too, but I can't say it out loud. Okay, before we dive in further, please take a second to like and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And after you subscribe, click on the bell icon because that way you will be alerted every time new episodes drop. Marco Rubio, he is currently a part-time Secretary of State. I think he's like helping running. I'm not really sure. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. He's also been tasked with taking over another agency. I can't even remember. The guy is wearing so many hats. I can't keep track. How can he do this? Well, he's actually not doing any work. So it's pretty easy, although he's going to need a bigger business card. Anyway, there are a couple of things. Well, the list is endless that Rubio is bad at, but I'm going to focus on the basics. He doesn't seem to know how to shake hands with humans. And he seems to have trouble with water bottles, which, to be fair, is a stumbling block for other people we know. Anyway, when I think it was when he was giving the Republican rebuttal speech to one of President Biden's debates, he awkwardly grabbed for a bottle of water, and that's literally the only thing people remember. I think it's safe to say it ended any long shot hopes for presidential ambitions he had. But now the Rubio curse strikes Ted Cruz, and trust me, it could not happen to a worse person. And this is what happens when you're Ted Cruz and you get a little bit too excited. This is going to come out of left field, I assure you. About Guatemalan sex changes. That's very niche. Take a look.
When you get your rear end whipped in an election, you stop and say, hey, what went wrong? What did we do wrong? Let's recalibrate. The Democrats are not. They're doubling down. They are the party of waste, fraud, and abuse. They are the party of, you don't see a single elected Democrat saying, this is great that Elon Musk is tracking this down. Instead, they are defending sex change surgeries in Guatemala.
That was attractive. Jesus. Okay. So what a segue that was. Like, where's it going from there? But I don't know. I prefer him parched. Speaking of water and the poor use of it, you may remember that a while ago, just to prove that he knew stuff about water management, this was in the wake of the disastrous Los Angeles County fires, Donald issued an executive order to divert millions of gallons of water, supposedly to help firefighting efforts in Los Angeles. But the water didn't actually get to LA. So, first of all, just remember the context of this. Besides the horrific fires, of course, Donald was basically telling people that the reason for the fires, besides the complete nonsense about, ecological issues and trying to save a tiny fish, I think he actually thinks that there was a huge spigot at the top of California, like the northernmost top part of California, and that you could just like turn it on and all the water would flow downhill and just kind of, I'm not kidding. I actually think that's what he thought. Why? Because he's deeply stupid. So he had millions of gallons of water released from a reservoir. The problem, however, is that he did this during the winter time when the soil did not need water. And also, again, the water didn't go to LA, didn't come anywhere close. So it was just wasted. And now farmers, because it's getting into planting season, I say, knowing nothing about this. But, spring, that makes sense. There aren't going to be water reserves for the crops that will start to grow this summer. So he's talking about it again this week because, speaking of doubling down, watch this clip.
That's coming into the dikes and other means of transportation. Isn't that beautiful? Who would believe that? That's all water they could have had. I went to the governor during my first term and I said, why don't you do this? And they said they have an environmental problem with clean water. If this water were there, you wouldn't have had those fires. You had sprinklers. They make people put sprinklers in the ceiling of a home, and they had no water in them. With this, they would have had a lot of water in them. They would have all been full. They would have had you would have had a whole different deal down there. You probably wouldn't have had a fire, but if it was, it would have been small, would have been put out. Yeah, the fire hydrant's not working in California. So it's a beautiful site. These are canals that were built. These were all built.
Yes. Actually, what Governor Newsom said was, I didn't do that because I'm not a fucking idiot. Representative Jared Huffman of California put it well when he said the following, quote, do not be fooled by Donald's lies. None of the policies in this executive order will move even a single drop of extra water to communities devastated by these wildfires, unquote. That's right. Also, I want to clarify, I made a mistake when I would talk about this a while back. I had basically been like, I don't understand why California is complying with this nonsense. And then somebody reminded me, it's just something I should have known, that there are federal lands on all states over which state governments have no control. Only the federal government can make such decisions. So basically what we see there is, besides Donald's just bizarre obsession with all things water, his complete and utter misrepresentation and lying about what actually happened and the problems California ran into during this horrific crisis, but also lying about what Governor Newsom said, because there is no way on earth that Governor Newsom ever made the claims Donald said he made. So he is knowingly lying about all of it. The question, of course, is why? Well, because he's so unaccomplished and so ignorant that he is going to grasp at any straw to try to make him look better, because he's just a black hole of need. It doesn't matter who gets hurt by his lies, because running theme here, what does he care? Okay, so we know that we were promised on day one that prices would go down, inflation would go down, and everything would be great because the Biden economy was a thing of the past. Well, it turns out that none of that was true. Denny's is just the latest restaurant chain to raise prices to reflect the soaring cost of eggs. Check out this report.
Amid the shortages and higher egg prices, Denny's is now adding an egg surcharge at some of its locations. The chain declined to specify the exact amount. Denny's said in a statement that pricing decisions are being made restaurant by restaurant. So Waffle House already did it. Now
I'm
Denny's.
staying home.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's getting expensive out there, isn't it? Everybody who voted because eggs were too expensive. Well, guess what? Egg prices have reached record highs and are expected to rise further throughout the year. The Department of Agriculture projects a 41% increase in egg prices for 2025. The sharp price surge is primarily due to a widespread bird flu outbreak, and with fewer birds, it should surprise none of us, egg production decreases, resulting in higher prices due to the scarcity. Donald campaigned specifically on the cost of eggs, so let's check to see what the Trump regime is doing to combat this crisis.
Several USDA employees working on the country's response to bird flu were accidentally fired over the weekend, and now the government is trying to get them back. The agency acknowledged the error in a statement today, saying they're working to swiftly rectify the situation and rescind those letters.
Oops. This is happening everywhere in every agency. I mean, I don't know. Personally, I think that this is a kind of a big one. It's not quite as serious as firing people who, I don't know, monitor our nuclear arsenal. But bird flu is highly contagious and it's spreading, and the culling of chickens continues apace, which means the price of eggs is going to continue to go up. So we're dealing with this outrageous incompetence. But remember, they don't care because they can afford to buy all of the eggs they want. Speaking of buying stuff, I'm going to ask a question I already know the answer to. Anybody here want to buy any of Donald's merch? No, of course we don't. But a lot of people will. Unfortunately, though, this greedy man is selling it from the Oval Office in the People's House, our house, behind the Resolute desk, which belongs to us. It is a new level of obscenity when we've been, primed to expect pretty much anything at this point. But still, watching it is enough to take your breath away. I want you to take a look at Robert Kennedy's face. He is, of course, and unfortunately, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who is probably partially looking as uncomfortably as because he just wants to get back to killing children with preventable communicable diseases. But I'm guessing part of it too is that he is having a very hard time sitting there with a straight face while Donald Trump demeans everything it means to be president of the United States of America. I have to say, did I feel any sympathy for Kennedy at all? No, I did not. I hope that it felt, watching that disgrace, felt like you were being eaten by acid from within, metaphorically speaking, of course. So anyway, let's watch Kennedy's face as Donald, I don't know, just degrades everything we used to hold dear when he's selling his merch from the Oval Office in a show of utter contempt for all things American. Watch this.
See that? Trump was right about everything. Just came in. Somebody said, I said, this was sent in by a fan. I said, I think we should make some of them, right? But we were, pretty much. You want one?
I'll pass.
Are you allowed to take one? Because he'll consider it. I know him well. He's sort of a stiff. Yeah, Brian, you're not a stiff. He's sort of a stiff guy. He'll take other things, but not a free hand.
Always say yes to the president. Always say yes to the president.
Would anybody like one?
Who is that fucking guy? I didn't realize that Donald had gotten a court jester. Like, I thought that was his role. That's not efficient to have two people doing the same job. Anyway, yes, Kennedy looked pained. Good. By the way, I think somebody sent them the wrong package because I think I should have that hat in a different color, please. Okay. Because we have a thing called Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. It will not surprise you that there's much more wasteful spending to talk about. Embarrassment. South Carolina Representative Joe Wilson is proposing legislation to feature Donald's face on a $250 bill. There is no such thing as a $250 bill, so they'll have to make a new one. This would be breaking with precedent in a couple of ways. First of all, again, new denomination. I think it's been a while since there's been one of those. Require changing a law because up until now, you couldn't have your face on a piece of paper currency unless you were a man. Oh, wait, no. Harriet Tubman finally made it, but that's not going to last long. White. Again, see, Harriet Tubman, not going to last long. And dead. So, quote, grateful to announce that I am drafting legislation to direct the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to design a $250 bill featuring Donald Trump. This guy wrote, fight inflation. Didn't know that was a thing. Has destroyed the economy, forcing American families to carry more cash. Most valuable bill for most valuable president, unquote. Well, then carry more cash if that's really what you need to do. But let's be real. People, to the extent that people do need to carry more cash, and I think most people use credit cards at this point, I'm pretty sure that has to do with the fact that you guys are destroying the economy and inflation's going up and unemployment's going up and prices across the board are going up. So before we get to that, check out this clip.
Congressmember from South Carolina wants to put President Trump on a $250 bill. That's Joe Wilson, who made this post on X, which we used to call Twitter. Wilson says he is working on legislation that would direct the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to design the bill featuring the president. Current law prevents a living U.S. president from being on currency.
This is such a wonderful use of our resources and time, isn't it? All right. First of all, talk about having your fingers on the pulse of how the average American spends money. It turns out that the most that the piece of paper currency most in circulation is the $100 bill. I rarely see $100 bills. We see 20s, mostly. right? People carry around $20 bills. And unless unless you're one of those guys and you're carrying thousands of dollars around in your wallet, thick wallet, I mean, who needs that? Who needs to be carrying around $250 anyway? Like, what are you doing? I don't want to speculate. So the reason that the $100 bill, we don't see it often, is because mostly it circulates internationally. So this is just another way to prop up Donald's little ego and to score points with him. But again, it also is worth reminding ourselves first of all, that these people are all fascists, but they are the most embarrassing, immature sycophants ever collected. I can't imagine where they get it from. Okay, so earlier this week, French President Emmanuel Macron had the great misfortune of having to meet with Donald. And during their press conference, Macron actually placed his arm far too gently, in my view, his hand, I should say, on Donald's arm to try anyway to stop him from lying. Good luck with that, Macron. I think a straitjacket might have been more helpful in that case. It was sort of reminiscent of somebody trying to talk down their sort of seriously out of control grandpa and preventing him from saying anything stupid and offensive. But of course, Donald cannot be controlled. He's going to do that anyway. Check it out.
Just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total efforts, and it was like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear.
Yeah. Okay, isn't it great that the guy currently trying to destroy the Western Alliance and NATO knows absolutely nothing about how any of it works? It's very comforting. In the same press conference, Donald went on again about going to Fort Knox to, quote unquote, find the gold. Well, you don't have to because it's there. Watch this.
We have found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud so far, and we've just started. We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there, because maybe somebody stole the gold. Tons of gold.
Well, how is one question I have. Also, this is what he thinks about. This just completely immature, shiny object obsessed, hollow man is money and gold. Although I do agree, we have found hundreds of dollars of fraud, and there are only two people who are committing said fraud: Donald Trump and Elon Musk. See how easy that was? We can disband Doge now. You're welcome. All right. In London, activists are spreading posters calling Elon's electric Tesla cars what they should be called. They're calling them swastikars. It's awesome. They even have a catchy slogan: from 0 to 1939 in 3 seconds. Take a look. Let's do that here, please. Like everywhere. You know those projectors that can project anything on a building? Like, I want them all over DC. I want them on the White House. I want them on the Capitol building. I want them on everything. All right. Well, there has been a little bug in some iPhones. I'm not entirely sure it's a bug, where a voice prompt turns the word Trump, and I'm going to try to detach myself from this one for a second because it's hysterical, to the word racist. Take a look.
This big glitch from Apple. The company says a fix is in the works for a bug in its text-to-speech transcription software.
Apple says that words containing the letter R, like racist or rampage, are known to get changed to Trump. This doesn't happen on every occasion, but the tech company is aware and says that the issue stems from a phonetic overlap between the words.
Racist. Racist.
Sure, an overlap. That's absolutely what's going on there. Because what are the odds? Seriously, what are the odds? I mean, it doesn't even start with an R. Last I checked. It's my name, so I know these things. I've got to go try that. Anyway, finally, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. I always liked her. She is a badass. And you're going to see why in a second. She was asked this week if she had any words for Elon Musk. And this was her response.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Fuck off.
That's it.
What else is there to say? He has no business being anywhere near any part of our federal government. Fuck off. How hard is that? Nobody cares what Elon Musk has to say. Elon Musk has no authority, no real, valid, legal, constitutional authority to do anything. So yes, thank you, Representative Crockett. Elon Musk, just fuck off. I think you have enough now, don't you? Well, actually, he doesn't think he does, so that's sort of why we're in this bind. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Trump Trolls Trump. Don't forget to leave a comment and like and share this video, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks.